We are going to talk about how trauma can sneak back into our lives through the five senses so that you can understand how they work. Trauma doesn't always show up in the ways that we expect. It doesn't just live in our memories. It can get stored in our bodies, and sometimes it gets triggered by our senses without us even realizing it. So let's break it down by the five senses: sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. Sight. Starting with sight, here we go. Something as simple as seeing a specific color, a location, or even a type of clothing can bring us back to buried memories. So just imagine you're walking down a street and you catch a glimpse of a house that looks like the one you grew up in, and suddenly your mood shifts and anxiety starts creeping in, and you may not even understand why. And it's because your mind is reacting to what it sees, pulling up old emotions to the surface. The next sense is the sense of sound. And so this is a big one for many people. I know it's a big one for me. And maybe it's a certain song or a way that someone raises their voice that brings you back to the time when you didn't feel safe. Sound can be especially powerful because it taps directly into your emotions. If there's a door slamming or a siren, it might send you into that state of panic. And it's really just your nervous system reacting to a sound it associates with the danger from the past. And I know for me, song is super powerful when it comes to getting triggered, especially the song by Tim McGraw and Nelly, because it takes me back to when my high school boyfriend, who was incredibly abusive, would not leave me alone even after I had ended the relationship. And he would call and he would play that song on my voicemail over and over, and that's one of the lines in the song, is over and over and over. And so I just cannot handle hearing that song. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me. And then there's the next sense, which is the sense of smell. And our smell is actually really closely linked to memory, which is why certain scents can instantly transport us back to another time. And maybe it's the smell of a certain type of cologne that reminds you of someone who wasn't kind to you. Again, that's a powerful connector for me. So there are a few cologne scents where as soon as I smell them, it takes me back to times in life that weren't really good at all. Or it could be the scent of a specific food that brings you back to a difficult memory in time. It can even be a brief whiff that can take you back down memory lane, whether you're ready for it or not. So taste is another powerful trigger, and food can be so comforting. That's what makes this one such a tough one, but it can also stir up emotions that we didn't expect. And so eating something that you used to have as a child, whether it was good or bad, can remind you of a past experience. And so maybe you don't even know why a particular taste makes you feel uneasy, but your body remembers. And then the next sense is the sense of touch. And the sense of touch can be deeply personal, and for some a very intense trigger, especially if your trauma involved physical experiences. And so it could be a specific touch, like someone grabbing your arm, or it could be even something a little more subtle, just like the texture of a fabric, that can bring up overwhelming emotions. And so if your trauma included physical harm or boundary violations, then even the gentlest touch, like a casual pat on the shoulder or a hug, can cause your body to react as if it's in danger again, and you might just want to shrug that sensation away. But triggers are really tough, and there's really no doubt about that. And they can be subtle at times and catch us off guard. They can stir up old wounds and bring up emotions we thought we'd moved past. But as difficult as they are, triggers can also be valuable teachers. Every time we're triggered, it's like our body or our mind is giving us a clue about areas where our healing journey isn't complete yet. They show us where we're still carrying emotional pain or unresolved trauma that might be buried deep inside. And so when we experience a trigger, it's easy to get frustrated or overwhelmed, but if we can pause and take a moment to reflect on what's happening, we can start to see these triggers as opportunities for growth. Each trigger points to a specific area in our past that still needs attention, whether it's fear or grief or shame or anger. And by becoming aware of how our five senses are involved, whether it's a sound that brings up fear, a smell that evokes sadness, or a touch that sparks anxiety, we can start connecting those sensory experiences to the underlying emotions that they're bringing up. And really, awareness is the first step toward healing. When we understand what is triggering us and why, we can begin to manage these reactions more effectively. Instead of feeling powerless or blindsided, we can use grounding techniques, mindfulness, or self-compassion practices to gently bring ourselves back to the present moment. And so over time, as we continue to notice patterns in our triggers and learn from them, we actually gain more control over our emotional response to them, and that allows us to continue to heal. So if you are becoming more in tune to your senses and you're recognizing how they play a role in triggering you, then you can turn those difficult moments into healing ones. And it's not easy, but with practice and patience, those triggers lose their power and we become more grounded in the present moment, feeling safer and more in control. And so while healing is a process, every trigger we face gives us an opportunity to take another step forward. And so if you're looking for mindfulness practices, be sure to tune into this video.